a couple things to note. This is not a toy review, as much as it is. Here are my thoughts on the figure I am using for stop motion, and here's the background of the character. I will make notes on what I think of the figure, such as how, in case of this vehicle mode, I don't like how thin some of these tabs here and here, well, some of those tabs, and how are thin and how tight this area is put in. But otherwise, all's fine, looks fine, pretty much fine. I should probably explain who this is. This is Generation 2 Megatron, specifically Generation Select version using the Earthrise mold. Now, if I can get him to stand, it comes with this, which is supposed to kind of be a sword when not in tank mode, but usually I don't have him wielding it. So, that little tab there is what it was referring to with worried that some pieces might snap when being put in vehicle mode. But beyond that, I don't really have any issues with this mold. So now I'm going to go to... Now I'm going to basically become disembodied voice again, and go more into who Generation 2 Megatron is. So I'm going to admit here, I am looking at the Transformers wiki, so that I can make sure I don't get any information wrong. But during the time of the Generation 2 toy line, Megatron actually takes a couple of different colorizations of a tank form. Part of that is because Hasbro's not allowed to re-release Megatron as a pistol anymore. So he basically became a green and purple, or purple and black, or even a different, or even like gray and dark green tank. Now, I will point out that the original Generation 2 figures were still technically part of Generation 1. Actually, I think they still are technically part of Generation 1. So, them being part of a separate dimension is something specific for my stop motions. But pretty much, I think what the story is with Generation 2, beyond that they needed, well, actually, Generation 2, I think, pretty much just introduced characters in either new colors or new bodies. That's the main thing that needs to be taken away from it. I'm pretty sure, if he doesn't already, there is a guy who does a series called The Basics, which will actually which would actually end up giving you all the information you will actually need on G2 or Generation 2 if you really badly need to look into it. I don't know of any specific media that has Generation 2 version of Megatron doing overly important things. So I can't say if he does or doesn't. Pretty much I'm going to say, hang on. So the Marvel Generation 2 comic is probably where he appeared the most. Yeah. So pretty much, I think importance-wise, it's for considering I'm using the Generation 1 cartoon as the basis for any universes spinning off of it, except for specific changes to a whole dimensions, how a whole dimension works. Specifically looking at Shattered Glass with that statement. But yeah, so effectively, as far as my stop motion will be concerned, it's just the Generation 1 Megatron with a new body that isn't Galvatron. So you can just continue to expect him to try and take over the world.